Rabotai, welcome to our Thursday night shiur. Usually we don't have such a crowd on Thursday night. Usually it's the Wednesday night that's more popular. So when you have a tzaddik like Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim Ben Ish Chaim in Baghdad, that his yortzeit is tonight on the 13th of Elul, and Elul is the month when the 13 attributes of mercy are open 24/7 for 40 days straight until Ni'ilah of Yom Kippurim. And Rav Yitzchak Kaduri said that at the 13th day of Elul, which is the yortzeit of Ben Ish Chai, you should read the 13th chapter of Tehillim 13 times.
Wow.
It's not a simple matter. Tonight we're going to discuss who is the man, the legend. And it's really a legend because, in our generation, maybe for our kids, Rav Ovadia is going to be a legend. For us, Rav Ovadia was the Gadol Hador. I wouldn't really call him a legend because we knew him. We saw him. We have videos of him. But Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim Baghdad, the Ben Ish Chai, is a legend for us. And when I say a legend, I'm not exaggerating. He was Meshichmo Vemala Gavoa Mikol Ha'am. From his shoulder and up, he was taller than the whole generation. I don't have the books to prepare for you because I'm a little busy during the day. But if I had, I would quote to you one of my favorite Rabbanim, and who I wish that I could connect to all the time. Rabbi Yehuda Ftaya writes about Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim, the Ben Ish Chai, in his introduction to his book Ben Yehoyada and the Shas. He writes about him like this. I'm quoting you word for word in English. God had mercy on our generation. This is his words. God had mercy on our generation, and he took a soul that was supposed to come down in the time of Rabbi Akiva, and he held him in a treasure chest until our generation, because he saw that the souls in our generation were so low, were so down, that they needed a neshama from the time of the Tanaim, and that was the soul of Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim HaBen Ish Chai. Now just to imagine that when you see the picture of the Ben Ish Chai, you're looking at a Tana, should already cause shivers to go down your body. If it doesn't, it just means that you don't understand his being. The Baba Sali HaKadosh, Rabbi Yisrael Abu Hasir, Ben Rabbi Mas'ud, when he was a young boy, when he was 15, 16 years old, he took after his mother's side of the family, the Baba Sali. And his mother's side of the family, they didn't grow any facial hair. There were tzaddikim like that. Rabbi Yochanan, for example, of the Gemara, he also didn't grow any facial hair. That's why his brother-in-law, Rish Lakish, when he jumped into the river, thought he was a woman. Well, how could you think it was a woman? Everybody had beards back then. No. The Gemara says Rabbi Yochanan did not have a beard. He had very feminine features. The Baba Sali also had very feminine features when he was a young boy. And when he used to look at the picture of the Ben Ish Chai, he used to cry. He said, God, please give me a couple of hairs of this man's beard. Just a couple of hairs. He used to say that the Ben Ish Chai's beard is the most perfect beard that ever was since the creation, since the creation of the world. And it's not a simple thing that the man with the most perfect beard, the Baba Sali said this, and the perfect beard has 13 facets. Amonai, Amonai, Kel, Rachum, Vechanun, Erech, Apai, Rab Chesed, Ve'edmet, Noseh Chesed, Lalafid, Noseh Avor, Peshet, Chatav, V'nakeh. The 13 attributes in the most perfect beard, and he passed away in Elul on the 13th day. Who is this man? How did he have two? Ben Ish Chai has two burial plots. If you go to Israel, there is a burial plot. I prayed over there. I have a picture over there. I prayed by his in Har Zeitim, in the Mount of Olives. But if you go to Iraq, in Baghdad, guess what? He also has a burial spot over there too. But there were two men. What is it? Eliyahu Hanavi? Eliyahu Hanavi is alive, and what is this? How did he have two burial spots? How could you be in two places at the same time? How did that even happen? It's a rhetorical question. I wasn't looking for an answer. How did the Ben Ish Chai, Ben Yosef Chaim, get the name Ben Ish Chai? How come he's so celebrated amongst Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazic Jews alike? There's a song, Ve'amartem kol echai Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Ashkenazim are in love with that song. In love. When I say in love, I was in Lag BaOmer in Eretz Israel, in Achuzat Bar Yochai, you were there with me. And all through the mountain, when I say the mountain, it's not a small mountain, it's a big place. There's Druzim and Arabs over there, the Rabbi Shimon. And all throughout the Yord site, you hear, it's like the floor is moving. Yes, the floor is moving. Who wrote that song? The Ben Ish Chai. Hasidim sing it, Litaim sing it, Sephardim sing it.
I told you no.
The Ben Ish Chai was a singer, a writer, a mekubal. He was a posek. Anything you can think of, we call him Isha Eshkolot. You know what Isha Eshkolot is? A man that has everything. Very rare we find souls like that. He was able to speak for 3 hours straight. I speak for 40 minutes, I already get tired. I read the Torah in the morning of Shabbat. After 30 minutes, I get tired. The Ben Ish Chai spoke on Shabbat for 3 hours straight, and nobody said, Rabbi, also. No one said that. They were glued to him like it's unbelievable how they loved him.
Crazy glue.
And perhaps before I start to tell you how he was born, how he passed away, how he lived, the most interesting facet about the Ben Ish Chai, and I say this with such reverence for him, with such awe, he never took upon himself to be the rabbi of Baghdad. When they offered him to be the rabbi of Baghdad, he said, I don't accept it upon myself, but he didn't need to. Because even though he didn't, he was still accepted unanimously by all of Iraq. When his father passed away, he was 26 years old. That picture you see of him, he was 26 years old. The Baba Sali said, you want to see what a perfect human being looks like? Look at the picture of the Ben Ish Chai. Look at the picture of the Ben Ish Chai. He was the resemblance, the Baba Sali said, of Adam HaRishon. He had the shufre, the countenance of a perfect human being. And it's very interesting that I've read many biographies of the Ben Ish Chai. As a person who loves history, I've read many biographies of the Ben Ish Chai. And the most interesting stories I found about him was the stories that his students said about him in their own personal halachas book. And one interesting fact I found about the Ben Ish Chai, he was a very strict person. There is a story. If you guys remember, I spoke about Rav Shimon Agassi a couple of weeks ago on the 8th of Av. This is your side. And he used to sell etrogim. One day, Rav Shimon Agassi was selling etrogim, and he claimed that these etrogs were kosher. Back then, it wasn't like today. You buy a $15 etrog in a Main Street supermarket, or you go to Bingo and you could buy etrogim for $4 the whole year. Back then, etrog was a fortune. So Rav Shimon Agassi had a bunch of etrogim, and he claimed they were all kosher. Rav Shimon Agassi was the Rosh Yeshiva. And the Ben Ish Chai claimed they were all pasul. When he heard that Rav Shimon Agassi, who was the nitzotz of Moshe Rabbeinu, according to Rabbi Yehuda Fadaya, said that they were kosher, he had kabdanut on him. How dare you go against my word? You see, we don't realize. We don't realize. A tzaddik is not a person who makes himself into a Persian rug. Just because you're a tzaddik doesn't mean you have to allow people to walk on top of you. That's not what a tzaddik is. There is a tzaddik from Chesed, there's a tzaddik from Givurah, there's a tzaddik from Tiferet. A tzaddik doesn't mean that you have to call him names and expect him to swallow everything like it's antibiotics. There is tzaddiks like this and tzaddiks like that. And what I find interesting is that Ben Ish Chai used to close himself in a house 24 hours a day. He used to close himself in a house. He would go out for Shacharit, Minha, and Arabi. He wouldn't give shiurim except for after Shacharit, and we'll talk about that. He wouldn't put mezuzot up in other people's houses. He wouldn't do yeshivos. He wouldn't do anything. He was in his attic all day learning Torah. And when he came down, he was very strict. He held people very begrudgingly. Because he needed to do that. As the chief rabbi, incognito. He was a tzaddik yesod olam, and today, really, I'm supposed to give you guys a shiur and shar gilgulim. I have a special secret for you guys tonight. I'm gonna tell you the gilgul of the Ben Ish Chai. I'm not gonna teach you shar gilgulim tonight. It's supposed to be shiur number 9, right? But I'm gonna tell you guys the gilgul of the Ben Ish Chai. And that generation was Dor De'ah. Rabbi Yehuda Ftaye was the nitzotz of Aaron HaKohen. Rabbi Shimon Agassi was the nitzotz of Moshe Rabbeinu. They said it themselves. Who was Rabbeinu Yosef Haim? You guys will be flabbergasted to know who he was. You guys will not believe who he was. You think he was some... If it wasn't Rabbeinu Yosef Haim, the rabbi of Bavel before him, Rav Abdallah Somech, who Rav Ovadia was named after him, Ovadia, Abdallah in Arabic is Ovadia. If it wasn't for the Ben Ish Chai, there would be no Rav Abdallah Somech, there would be no yeshivot. You know, I find interesting, we're Bukharians, maybe 30, 40 years in America. As a man of history, I look at our progress and I see a very big similarity between us and Iraq. A very big similarity. The Iraqi Jews, you know, they didn't have yeshivot. They were Amei Artzim. They were Am Haaretz. Am Haaretz. Until one guy, he was very rich, he was a rabbi called Rav Abdallah Somet, got up and he said, I'm making free yeshiva. He called it Beit Zilka. Guess who came out of Beit Zilka? That yeshiva, that free yeshiva. Public school for yeshivot. Rav Ovadia, Rav Ben Ish Chai came out of, Rabbi Yehuda Ftaye came out. Even Rav Ovadia was born into them. Even he funded everything with his own money. Abdullah Somet. It's not a wonder that 30 years later, the Ben Ish Chai knew who was the reincarnation of this man, who was his Rebbe, and even married his daughter. I'm sorry, his sister. Rabotai, the Ben Ish Chai is a legend. Why is he a legend? Because he paved the way for Sephardic Jews today. When we are sitting here today, I can put my money where my mouth is. I'm telling you, a nitzotz of him is right here and right now. I'm telling you. I know it. For sure. It's for sure over here. I believe it. I don't believe it. I know it. I bitachon. He's over here right now because in all of the New York area, I don't know how many people are doing this. I don't know. We're doing it because we know what it means. You see, we're used to the Lithuanian way of thinking. Everything has to be exact, on time. We're not living in Germany. We're Sephardim. Sephardic Jews have a Masorah. They have a Masorah, they have a tradition. We go way back. We know the right way. Rav Ovadia used to say, Zechar Tzaddik Osir Rise. How do you know who's Mashiach? He knows how to make it between an Aleph and an Ayin. If he knows how to do that, that's the first step to knowing he's Mashiach. He used to say that. Bepeh Maleh used to say that. Rabotai, we're Sephardic Jews. We start way back. The Ariya Kadosh, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi, was acting like what? A Sephardi. We have to be proud of what we are. Proud. We may not have yeshivot. We may not have mikvaot. We have something that nobody else has. We have Torah Hasod. We have Masoret. We have tradition. We have our parents. We know who our great-grandparents were. We could go way back. Rabbeinu Yosef Haim Baghdad, the Ben Ish Chai. I'm just going to tell you something very short. You know, we read stories about rabbis, and right away, he was 4 years old and he was already a prodigy. The Gaon Mevilna was 11 years old and he finished 2 Masechot in one night of Shavuot. What do I do when I read that story? Where is the Gaon Mevilna and where is me? I can never be who he is. In our world, the Sephardic world, we don't have such stories. It doesn't exist. You know why? Because we don't live in a fairy tale. Kids grow up, they will be kids. They will love candy, they will want to watch TV, they will want to do crazy stuff. They will be bullies. They will be bullied. Kids are kids. And we Sfaradim have no fairy tales in our stories. The Ben Ish Chai was 8 years old. He was a regular kid like any other kid in school. Like any other kid. He was no different than any one of our kids. Back then, how would they draw water from the well? He had an older sister. They went to draw water from the well. And I'm going to tell you how you know a kid is meant for greatness. The Ben Ish Chai was a small boy. His name was Yosef. Chaim is actually his last name. He fell into the well, trying to get the bucket. I know most of you guys here are born here or too young to know what happened back then. But a cold well could mean sudden death. It could mean sudden death. His sister ran to get help. A young girl. She was a couple of years older than him. By the time they get back, they called the Chevra Kadisha. There was no way in the world the boy would survive a plunge into a freezing cold well like that. There was no way. But when they went down to get him, he was still breathing. He was almost dead. When they brought him back to life, he said like this. He was a young boy, 8, 9 years old. He said, I swore at the moment that I fell down into the water, the freezing cold water, that if Hashem saves me, I swear that I will devote my life to Torah. I was a young boy at the age of 9. What kind of boys think like that? You know, when I was a kid, 9-year-old boys try to fast on Yom Kippur. Today, I'm a very curious person. I ask 9-year-old boys, do you try to fast on Yom Kippurim? It's not even close on their mind. It's called Yeridat HaDorot. We try to fast when we were kids. We try to do mitzvot. Our parents bought us chinuch lulav. But that's what you buy for your kids. My father bought me an actual kosher lulav and etrog. The Ben Ish Chai's father, when he brought the Ben Ish Chai into this world, the Ben Ish Chai was maybe 13 years old. They sent his father, Rabbeinu Eliyahu, a question from Israel. They had one etrog in all of Israel. It's a question written in Rav Poalim. You could check it out yourselves. There was one etrog and it belonged to an orphan, and he didn't have rights to his own etrog field until he was a certain age. Could we use that etrog? By the time his father answered that question, the Ben Ish Chai, as a young boy, wrote the answer and sent it to Israel. By the time his father sent the answer, they answered him back, your son already answered us. That's what kind of boy he was. It's not for nothing he was meant for greatness. It's not for nothing that we still suckle. We still suck from his greatness. You see, Torah is not just about learning. It's about doing. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon were sitting in a aliyah and they asked him, Hamidrashu ha'ikar or ha'maseh? What's the most important thing, to do or to learn? Rabbi Tarfon said to learn. Rabbi Akiva said to do. And the rabbi said, we agree with Rabbi Akiva. The main thing is to do. And I said this a couple of weeks ago in my shiur. Rabotai, we sit on Rosh Hashanah and we make the dumbest insinuations. If we're going to eat spicy on Rosh Hashanah, our year will be spicy. If we eat too much sweet, our year will be too sweet. If a guy is going on a date on Rosh Hashanah, all the year he's going to go out on a date. If he's going to sleep on Rosh Hashanah, all year he's going to sleep. Can I give you a small insinuation? A small implication? Why don't you learn how to blow the shofar? And let's go together to Regal Park in 108th Street, and even around here. Let's blow the shofar for people who go to work on Rosh Hashanah. Let's do for them a mitzvah. Let's blow the shofar for them. Maybe all the year we'll be awake. Instead of finding dumb implications, let's make a difference. When the Ben Ish Chai was a young boy, he swore he would make a difference. You see, I can tell you stories of the Ben Ish Chai from today till tomorrow, I promise you. When I went with my father to Lag BaOmer in Israel, and I prayed to have a child. The first book that I bought in Rabbeinu Shmueli's tent in Lag BaOmer was the book of the Ben Ish Chai. I saw this picture, I bought it. It was the original picture. I can tell you the stories from today till tomorrow. The question is, what are we going to leave here today with? When you ruin somebody's life, you're ruining a life for generations. When you save a person's life, you're saving a life for generations. I'm going to tell you who was his reincarnation right now. You guys will be surprised. This was a guy that was cursed by David HaMelech. This was a guy, all of his children died. This was a guy who killed his own cousin. Don't ruin the whole story. This was a guy, I wouldn't call him a scum, but he died in a very horrible way. Cursed by his own uncle, by his own cousin. Yeah. The Ben Ish Chai was the reincarnation of the general of David HaMelech. He was the reincarnation of Yoav ben Tzeruya. Some people here don't know what I'm talking about. You wouldn't have Jerusalem today if it wasn't for Yoav. You wouldn't have Israel today if it wasn't for Yoav. You wouldn't have anything today if it wasn't for Yoav. We look at the Ben Ish Chai's books and we think that he's the Gilgul of who? Benayahu ben Yoyada. Who was Benayahu? The general of King Solomon. We think he's his reincarnation. Why? All of his books. Ben Yehoyada, Ben Ish Chai, Rav Poalim, all of his books are based on Ben Yehoyada. Do you know why he called his books in those names? Because Benayahu ben Yehoyada killed Yoav in the past reincarnation. He killed him. And when he killed Yoav, Yoav swore he'll never forgive him. Not in this world, and not in the next world. Throughout 1,000, 2,000 generations, they forgave one another. It was done. Hashem said it's not enough. Because you held a grudge, you're going to come back in this world, and every book you're going to write, you're going to name it on his name. He killed you. You forgave him, but you held a grudge. It's not enough. When you forgive with your full heart. We're in Chodesh Elul. That's our message. They say in Europe, they used to forgive one another before Yom Kippur. After Yom Kippur, they used to go back to each other, neighbors. It's still on. It's back on.
Truth all.
The Ben Ish Chai taught us something. Mechelo Mekuneh is not enough. Mechelo Doret, Bababam. When we see the Ben Ish Chai, we have to learn one thing. He came to this world to fix the person who killed him. Not that he killed. He was killed by Benayahu. And yet every one of his books were called what? After Benayahu. When the Ben Ish Chai was in his old age, he went to Israel to make ziyarat. You know what ziyarat is? Visit the dead, visit the graves of tzaddikim. In our shul, we're very big on that. We will go to Rochester for 7 hours just to pray by the grave of a tzaddik. I'm telling you, when I heard we were going to Rochester, I went there one time before. I didn't think twice. I'm married already. Why should I go? Just to touch the grave of a tzaddik one more time. I might have been as happy as I was when I found out I was getting married. I'm telling you, to find out I'm going to Israel to pray by the Rambam's grave. I went to Israel this past time. First grave I visited was the Rambam. When I touched his grave, I had goosebumps. Because you know what? I know that I'm standing by that tzaddik. I know he's there. We're lacking in our emunah. We're lacking greatly in our emunah. Big time we're lacking. We're a generation of inspiration. You know what that is? We go to a lecture, he inspires us. I feel good. Tomorrow we're back to our old ways. What's good is the inspiration. What good is that? What does it do for us? Nothing. Rabbi Akiva saw a rock that was hit by a drop of water for 40 years. Not a blast of water, a drop of water. Today is the 13th of Elul. We are in the HELULA of the Ben Ish Chai. I don't know who in Main Street is doing this, who in Queens, who in Brooklyn is doing this. I don't think there's anyone. We have a zechut by standing over here. We have a very big zechut. If our Elul wasn't meaningful until now is the time to take a jump into a meaningful Elul. And I know the problem of our generation. The problem is if I don't cry like a baby, it means my tshuva wasn't real tshuva. You're wrong! God doesn't need tears. Tears and laughter for him is the same thing. Hashem just wants live. Lev nishbar v'nitke Elohim lo tivzeh. King David said. When King David made teshuvah, he didn't cry. He said, a broken heart God wants. You see, Kedusha comes from a very deep place. It comes from knowing subconsciously that you're a Jew. The Ben Ish Chai was once in jail. Did you guys know that? He had a record. If you would go online and check his name, you would find that he had a record. Why did he have a record? His brothers made some interesting business deals. You know, Levidira. And he was blamed because the business was on his name. He was in jail. You know for how many days he was in jail? 30 days. This is not a jail in... even Rikers Island was better than that jail. Rats. Mice. Roaches walking all over you. No kosher food. The water is not tap water. Tap water was a good thing. No kind of water they drink? From the sewer. Ben Ish Chai sat there and he wrote a book by memory. By memory. It's called Dat Utfuna. He was so happy when he wrote that book, he even wrote it anonymously. When he left the jail after 30 days, Hashem showed him in a dream 300 little kids. And he said, these are your kids. There were exactly 300 stones in that jail. And every stone was a soul of a child that didn't have a tikkun. By you learning Torah in that jail, you fixed every one of those souls. If we would be in that jail, Hashem, why? But retroactively, thank God we were there. Thank God we were there. The Ben Ish Chai had many brothers. He had a sister. I want to say one beautiful story I know about the Ben Ish Chai. When he was a young boy, his father was a rich man, Rabbi Eliyahu. He used to give him an allowance. Every week, he used to give every one of his kids a candy allowance. But he had one condition. You have to show me the candies every Shabbat table. You have to show me the candies. Everyone would show the candies except for the small Yosef Chaim. And his father used to get upset. You gulted. You buy the candies and you swallow them. He wouldn't say a word. Young boy. One day his sister said, I'm going to spy after my brother. She went to look after him. What did he see? He does. With that money he buys a challah and a bit of grape juice and he drops it off by a widow's house. True story. True story. This is not a malachim story. This is a regular story. He would knock on the door, leave the challah with a bit of grape juice, and he used to run away. So she went to her father and she told him the truth. From that day on, his father gave him double the allowance. Why? Double the tzedakah. This is our Rabbanim, Rabotai. This is what we have to... It's not far. Lo nifleti mimcha. When the Ben Ish Chai was a young man, when his father passed away, he was 26 years old. He had a very beautiful features. He had a beard. Yes, it's Arabic. But Jewish people are Semitic. This is how we're supposed to look like. The girls used to look out of their windows. Why? The Gemara says, after you come out of the mikveh, the first thing you look at has a effect on the child. And also women who were nida used to look at him. The Ben Ish Chai used to tell the husbands in the drasha, make sure if your wife is a nida, she wouldn't look at me when I walk down the streets. Why? Because just the look of a nida woman has an effect on you. It makes me lower in my spirituality. You ever wonder why you go to work, you do work, and then you come home and you don't want to do any mitzvot. You don't want to pray Aravi, do Kreshma al-Mitah. The Ben Ish Chai was afraid while he was walking down the street. Of Chaim Falaji used to cover his eyes when he used to give a drasha. They were afraid. Yes, this is our Masoret. This is a true Masoret. The Ben Ish Chai when he was an older man. He wrote a book of Gilgulim. You learned Shara Gilgulim, right? He wrote his own Shara Gilgulim. He knew the Gilgul of the Chafetz Chaim, of the Maharam Sheikh, of Abdullah Solmek, of all the tzaddikim. One day his son, he had one son and one daughter. He decided to check out his father's book of Gilgulim. The Ben Ish Chai used to give a drasha, a lecture after Shacharit to regular people. Ein Yaakov, stories of the Gemara. He went while his father was giving a drasha. He opened up the book, and whose name came out? His own. And who did he see? He was the HELULA? Achav. You know who Achav was? There are 3 kings who have no olam haba. One of them is Achav. The Ben Ish Chai's son looked at it. He fainted on the floor. I'm the Gilgul of a guy who has no olam haba. He closed the book and he put it back. I don't want to see this book again. But curiosity killed the cat. So he decided to go the next day to check. But this time the Ben Ish Chai was ready. He found out through Ruach HaKodesh that his son was peering through his personal books. His son opened up the door to check. He thought his father was giving the drasha. Who's waiting over there sitting? His father. He said, you weren't supposed to look at something you weren't supposed to look at. But I'm going to tell you. You already looked, I'm going to explain it to you. Every Rasha has a nitzotz of Kedusha. You're the nitzotz of that king that has no olam haba. I worked very hard to bring that nitzotz to this world. Don't think you're nothing. You're everything. When the Ben Ish Chai used to give a drasha for 3 hours, he didn't need a microphone. There was over 300 people sitting in his lecture. 300. He didn't need a microphone. When he passed away, his son took over. He started to speak. I can't hear you from the back. The Shekhinah was speaking through his father's throat. So therefore everybody heard him. There was a very big miracle when the Ben Ish Chai was giving a drasha. One of the boys fell from the balcony. And the Ben Ish Chai looked at him and he went like this. Like that. There should be no kishalon. Chas shalom, an accident in his drasha. Suddenly the boy's arm went very long, like the Batya, the daughter of Paro, and he was able to grab onto the balcony. And everybody saw that miracle. But when the Ben Ish Chai's son started giving it to him, he said, I'm not my father, guys. Don't expect anything great from me. I'm not him. The Ben Ish Chai wrote over 50 books. 50 books. Rabbi say, you know what 50 books is? Some people in Kol can't even write 10 pages. They get tired already. 50 books he wrote. But apparently, and perhaps, his greatest book was the book that he wrote anonymously. He had a book that he wrote anonymously called Torah Lishma. It's so anonymous that till today people fight. Did he write the book or did he not write the book? Because he wanted to make a book of Torah that nobody knows that it was him. Rav Ovadia said it wasn't him. But many Mekubalim say it is him. And I'm going to tell you a small secret that he wrote in this book. I want you guys to know. You know, we're in a generation where many kids go off the derech, and I'll tell you why they go off the derech. They go off the derech because they think Mashiach is coming tomorrow. A lot of people who become religious, they think that Mashiach is coming tomorrow. They hear lectures of people. Chemical warfare, chemical this, atomic bombs. Why should I go to school? Why should I work? Why should I get married? I'm not going to forget. Till today, one boy said to me, I don't want to get married right now. Pray for me, I should get married later. When Mashiach comes, what? He will tell me who's my bat zug. I said, a person like you has no bat zug. I told him straight out, a person like you has no bat zug. You need a psychiatrist. I told him. You need a psychiatrist. You're gonna stop a mitzvah d'oraita because you think Mashiach is coming tomorrow? Are you stupid? The first mitzvah in the Torah is to get married, and you're gonna say Mashiach is coming tomorrow? The Ben Ish Chai cried to Hashem until he had a boy and a girl. You know that? It was hard for him to have kids. Today we find couples, 2 years they don't have kids. Already, that's it, petir, petir. They don't want to live together anymore. Rav Moshe Feinstein writes in the Igrot Moshe, until 5 years, a couple shouldn't worry. Pardon me. It's a Igrot Moshe. If you learn a little bit Even HaEzer, you will look in the Igrot Moshe. Until 5 years, a couple shouldn't worry. How come they don't have kids? 1 year already, they don't have kids, couple of months. How come I'm not getting pregnant right away? And I say this to people, and it's a very big consolation to them. What does that mean? I don't have kids. You will have kids. Patience. And there's no patience in our generation. The Igrot Moshe says this 5 years. Before 5 years, you shouldn't go to a doctor, he says. Word for word, I'm quoting the Igrot Moshe. 5 years. The Ben Ish Chai didn't have kids for years. He didn't have kids. Years! He had one boy until he had that girl, it's R.Shalom. One boy and one girl, it was enough. He didn't say, I'm going to marry a second wife, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And there's no patience in our generation. Should we blame our parents? We shouldn't blame them. Should we blame our rabbis? We shouldn't blame them. We should blame ourselves. When you or your wife don't have kids and you come to each other and be like, how come I don't have kids? You know what you have to do? You have to comfort them. You have to comfort them and say, it's okay. I live in this world for you. One day our kids are going to leave. I'm just going to have you. I'm going to be buried next to you. Mordechai Sharabi had no kids. Lubavitch Rebbe had no kids. People get Chashalom, the D word today. Why? Because they don't have kids right away in their marriage. It's a kishalom. It's atzat hayetzer hara. Some people are in this world for one reason, just to have shalom bayit with their wives. Just to have shalom bayit with their wives, because they couldn't have it in other reincarnations. The Ari Kadosh says our wives were brought into this world just to help us. The Ben Ish Chai used to pick up his wife with his two hands. You know that? One time, one rabbi peered into the Ben Ish Chai's house. He used to be locked inside his house all day learning Torah. He was helping his wife cut the kartoshka. My son says kokorda. He was cutting the potatoes. When's the last time you cut potatoes for your wife? He didn't say it was bitul Torah. You know, when I first read the story, I'm about to cry right now. I cried. We're such a low level. Every day we have to go to a shiur Torah. We don't want to look for our other half. We don't want to pray. We don't want to do anything. Shiur Torah, shiur Torah. True, shiur Torah. Aval im ein yirah in ahava. If there is no fear of Hashem, where would the love of Hashem come from? I told this to one guy. I said, don't go to shiur Torah every day. Your wife needs you, stay home. Before you talk to her, say, Hashem yechud b'shar b'kol shchiteh, hareini oseh mitzvah shalom bayit. And I guarantee you, every word that you say is a mitzvah. If you have any problems, come to me. It's a mitzvah. A guy's wife snores at night. I had a case like that too. She snores so hard that the walls are shaking. It's disgusting. When were you Mr. Congeniality over here? What is it supposed to be? You don't snore, you have a belly, you're hairy. What are you, supposed to be a model over here? So she snores. She has a problem with her nose. You have so much ga'ava that you can't handle your wife snoring? That's how much ga'ava you have? One guy had a problem. What was his problem? His wife doesn't wash the dishes. So you wash the dishes. It's the end of the world. Once in a blue moon, wash the dishes. I can't. I don't want to be a travka in my life. I said, you're worse than a travka. You're Erev Rav. The way you're acting right now, you're Amalek. So you wash the dishes once in a while. It's not going to kill you. We think because our parents didn't have divorce cases that they lived a good life. They lived a horrible life. Every day was a fight. Every Shabbat, plates were flying. Okay, they didn't believe in divorce. Mazal tov. Let's do what they couldn't do. The Ben Ish Chai's name was Yosef. Yosef is Shalom. When we learn a halacha, when we do a mitzvah, we're not allowed to go to another person and say you're wrong. We're not allowed to put them down. We can't destroy another person's self-esteem. You know, the Ben Ish Chai, Yosef Chaim. Yosef Chaim. What's Yosef Chaim? Add life. If you have life, what do you need to add? You know what to add? Add goodness to your life. Add goodness. One person asked me, what should I take upon myself this Rosh Hashanah? How you call, what do the Goyim call it? Resolutions. Shkoyach. You know what I told him? Take upon yourself that when you come home, you're going to say, good evening, my wife, with a smile. Smile when you say it. Don't look like you just came back from a war. Maybe you'll have a very good year. You won't need Ayem Kivodol Aritzo 3 wishes, remission. Come home with a smile. It's the end of the world. Rav Shach took upon himself to say Birkat HaMazon from a Siddur. He was 80 years old. Rav Mordechai Sharabi used to say, in my table, men and women sit together. Mordechai Sharabi used to say that. Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim, we can't say just stories about him. We have to learn from him. That's the difference. We're not like any other place. We're not saying stories. We have to learn from him. And you know what I learned from him? One last thing. Perhaps the person, the man, who went against the Ben Ish Chai's halachot, to the, you know, you have the Oshpoche, there's like the what is it called? In English. The marrow in the bone. There was one rabbi who went into the marrow of his bones. Like, there wasn't a halacha, he didn't have a quote on that. His name was Rav Ovadia. You know what I find interesting? Rav Ben Ish Chai, with all of his kapdanut, with all of his begrudgingly, to be strict in his halacha, once Rav Ovadia fell asleep. He fell asleep. And in his dream, who does he see? The Ben Ish Chai. And on Rav Ovadia's table, there was a book called Anaf Etz Avot. It's a book of drashot, like, you know, people read, they get inspiration to be Chazar B'Tshuvah. Then there was his book, Yabiya Omer. You know Yabiya Omer? His magnum opus. The book of his halacha. And in Yabiya Omer Chelek Yud, that's where he, you know, rips it up. Chelek Yud, and it was Chelek Yud. And the Ben Ish Chai comes to his table in his dream. And he opens up his Yabiya Omer. He's flipping through the page. Rav Ovadia says this story himself. You could Google it. He looks at the page like, very nice. Closes the book. Then he looks at his Anaf Etz Avot. He opens the book. He said, this book is good, the one with the halachot. But this book over here is more important. This is the book. He didn't say, why are you going against me? Why are you doing this? How come every halacha is against me? You know what he said? This book is good, the Harashot. But this book over here, Anaf, the Rashot, it's much more important. Yeah, no, the other one, the one with the drashot, with the lectures and the stories. And you see, Rabotai, all of us over here, it's not that you're sitting here for no reason. Some people here I know, some people here I don't know. Everyone over here is a tzaddik. Everyone over here. And everyone over here has the potential to do what the Ben Ish Chai did. If you're sitting in his yard side, you have his potential. You have a nitzotz of him. There's 15, 16 million Jews in the world. They're not doing HELULA of the Ben Ish Chai. But you're here doing it. That means you have a connection to him. You don't need to see him in a dream to know you have a connection with him. I'm telling you, you have a connection. If you're here, you have a connection. So let's take a part of him with us. It's not enough to read the 13th chapter of Tehillim 13 times. It's a tov me'od. Do it. But let's take a part of him with us. What is that? The Ben Ish Chai had one goal. And it's the book he's most known for. What is that? Ben Ish Chai. And what is the whole book about? Regular halachot. To bring non-religious Jews back to Judaism. This book used to be the life of Jews, the life. They used to breathe this book like they're breathing drugs. They used to breathe the Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai used to be the life of Jews, of Am Haaretz. And I'm going to tell you one last thing. Rav Yehuda Tzadka, who was the Rebbe of Rav Ovadia Yosef, who was the nephew of the Ben Ish Chai, once had a dream. And he said, in Shamayim, guess what book they learned? The Ben Ish Chai. And guess what book could give you your Shamayim? The Ben Ish Chai. He said this. Rav Yehuda Tzadka doesn't joke. If we want to tap into the energy of the Ben Ish Chai, we have to know one thing, Rabotai. We have to live a selfless life. Our life has to be for people. to give. And don't expect anything in return. Because we have to evolve, Rabbi Ashlag says, into godliness. God gives, and guess what? He doesn't need anything in return. We have to give, and don't expect kavod. Don't expect kesef, zahav. Expect just to see a smile on somebody's face, and that should be enough in our life. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen. Can I say Rabbi Hanania?